Hey everyone, this is John Feneck with the Feneck Commodities Report, and with me today is my podcast partner, Don Durrett, founder of goldstockdata.com, the source for gold and silver stock research. Spent a few hours on your website this weekend, Don, going through things. Welcome.
Thanks. It's always kind of you to mention the website.
Not a problem. It's a great resource. Are you still covering about 850 stocks there?
Yeah, about 850. I can't add them all. I can only add 10 new ones a month, but because gold and silver prices went up, people keep sending me new names. It's difficult to. I think we'll get over 850 fairly soon. I add about 10 per month.
Okay, that's great. I mean, for someone who buys an annual subscription, that means you're getting 100 to 120 new names per year, right? I mean, something like that.
Yeah, that's about where we're at. 10 per month, so about 100 new names, and then I lose about 25, I think. But
you're losing them because
mergers.
Sorry.
I want to stay under 900. So at 900, I'll start removing stocks. But I don't think I'll get to 900 though. I don't, because there's a lot of M&A deals.
Yeah, well, 900 is more than I've seen on anyone else's website. So, I mean, yeah, you're going to lose a couple of names through, like you said, mergers and acquisitions. Like Suma Silver merged with Silver 47, who we had on the show a couple weeks ago. AGXPF. Galen gave us the rundown there. I just spoke to them again yesterday. You know, they completed a huge financing right after we talked to them. Very large. They have 3 U.S.-based silver projects now. 250 million silver equivalent ounces and counting. And as he told us on the program, his goal is to get to $1 billion, which is, at 50 plus silver. Some of these stocks, like we're about to meet with today, SilverX, just have so much leverage to the silver price. And that's what people don't understand, right? Like You and I have been talking on our show, just to set up things here a bit. You've been talking and I've been talking for now a couple of years about, hey, watch 30. 30's been resistance on silver for 11 years, right? Then 35 is your next takeout. And then 40, and then 42 to 43. All of these things, these achievements have been made this year. This isn't like 5 years of work, right? Well, silver is cranking right now.
Well, there's actually 2 things left, right? We want to get an all-time high in silver. So in August, silver basically, I believe, went into a bull market. Now, what I mean by that is that we don't really have to worry about corrections per se. It's not going to turn around and go back down. But before it got above 30, there was always that chance that it could, we were kind of stuck. We were kind of stuck in a trading range. But in August, everything kind of changed. So we became, I did, probably you did too. We noticed that the miners were trading better, going up more than silver was for the first time. And so there was a tone change in August, and it kicked into gear again in September. But now we have 2 things left. We want to get an all-time high in silver. We want to get above 50, get into that blue sky, just like gold's been in the blue sky. We want that to happen. And then the other thing we want to see is we want to see the S&P 500 stop going up, so that we get money flowing out of the Mag 7 and into the mining stocks. And that's what happened in 2001. So in 2000, we had the dot-com bubble burst, and then we had 9/11, we had that recession. Then from 2001 to 2013, the S&P was pretty much flat. And through that whole period, the miners were doing extremely well. So we want that too. We want the S&P to stop going up. It doesn't have to crash. We just want it to stop going up. And so if it stops going up and just gets stuck here, people will get frustrated, and they'll look over in the miners, and the miners are all ripping higher. That's when you get that transition where people move their money out of the S&P and into the miners. Those are the last 2 things that I want to see happen. But you're right, everything else has kind of happened. So we're really, really close. We're like this far away from basically winning the war, if you will. We're still fighting a couple more battles, but we're really close to winning this war.
Couldn't you think that we could see that as soon as this year, in the sense that we just had such a great earnings season from Newmont, Agnico, Alamos? You go down the list, it was just lights out in July and August. Can we see October, November, a really good earnings season? Because as you know, the average analyst, I don't have a lot of respect for in this sector. I think they're very conservative. Like USAU, for example, right? We both like US Gold. They had 78 meetings at Beaver Creek. 78. That was they brought 5 reps from the company. And I love that, because like, this is the time you go for it, right? They're going for it. Their share price at the beginning of that week was at 13. It ended 5 days later at 16. That's not just because it's a great story all of a sudden. It's because they're out there pounding the pavement saying, hey, look at us. We have a story to tell. And like, that's what you need to be doing right now. And it's amazing to me that in this bull market, silver and gold companies are still not doing much marketing or doing anything to like tell their story outside of like Twitter or LinkedIn or something. It's like, that's not enough. You have to be doing not only the drilling, which is very important, creating the 43-101s, the PEAs, the PFSs along the way, but you also have to think about, how am I going to get in front of new investors? Because some of these old investors really didn't do much for the stock, right? It's like, some of these companies really needed to take a look, I think, inwardly at their share structure, see how it was created, and see how you can change things going forward. I talked to Denarius Metals about this. You and I have a lot of respect for Serafino Iacono, who came on our show, right? Serafino agrees with this concept. He's like, we have really good shareholders, but I own 20% of the shares. Like, I would want people like you and Don and others to come into the stock and bring in new blood into the stock that aren't selling at 40 cents US, which is where it is right now, right? So I think sometimes companies have to think about this, which is hard, like to rethink the strategy a bit in terms of who is owning the stock and what is their time horizon.
Yeah, I mean, the bull market, in my opinion, started in August. As far as, you don't really have to wait for it to begin. It's the train actually is leaving the station right now. I just did my newsletter and I removed 15 top picks. That's a lot that came off. In order to be a top pick, you have to have bag or upside. And so those 15, those are stocks you wanted to own, 2-3 months ago. So those are gone. And so we're going to be seeing stocks slowly slip away from people. So yeah, this is the time, the iron, you want to get the iron in the fire kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, you mentioned about companies, Silver X now is going to get their story out, but we've had a lot of companies that have really gotten their story out and really moved. I mean, White Gold, they had Amex and Rua this week were really good stories. Paramount Gold Nevada, I mean, they really ripped. 1911 ripped. Denarius ripped. Next Gold ripped. I mean, these are really good stories, but when people hear the stories, they're like, oh, that's interesting, and they go buy it. And I think they're probably going to buy Silver X after they hear what they have to say today. There's very few silver miners, very few silver producers. There's only 15 silver producers with a market cap of $100 million or higher. It's a tiny group. And Silver X is in it.
I agree. One of the things it's funny that I'm saying this because I'm technically deficient in many ways, but I think when you look at the 2016 rally, for example, right, 9 years ago, you didn't have like all these chat rooms and social wasn't as popular at all. Like, things are spreading quick now. So we do an interview, we put it on Spotify, we put it on LinkedIn, we put it on Twitter, it's out there, but then it's getting pushed out by all of those followers that we have, which between the two of us, it's around like 90,000 people or something now, right? So it's like that we know of. So when it gets broad fast. And that's what I think the average investor needs to understand, is that you can't just sit there and say, all right, well, I'll buy $1,000 worth and watch it for a while. It's going to move.
Yeah. So I think we are heading into a correction here. The key to it all is the S&P. As long as the S&P stays where it's at or goes higher, I don't see gold correcting. Everybody says, the RSIs are too high on these things, that they're due for a correction. Silver's went straight up, due for a correction. Gold and silver are not going to correct if the S&P doesn't correct. That's my takeaway. they'll just be, I mean, little baby corrections, right? 1%, 2%, 3% at the most, right? And then they'll turn around and gold will just turn around and go back up, which is what we've seen over the last, since March of 24. Gold is always retraced back up following the S&P. They've basically been correlated. So the only correction that's going to come to these miners, in my opinion, is when the S&P finally rolls over, which I think could happen at any moment. I think all it's going to take is a single week. 1 week of selling on the S&P, and that's it. It's over. It'll just be selling for the next 6 months.
So when you say, just to clarify for everyone, Don, you're talking about selling in the broad market, not selling in the miners. The miners could have some mild selling based on an S&P rolling over.
Yeah. I'm only talking about the S&P. So the S&P, like I said, it could start at any moment and just sell. Now, the miners is going to follow gold. And I don't think that they're going to be able to push gold down more than 8 to 12%. And it might only go down 5, but my feeling is it'll probably go down 8 and maybe 12. And I think that's about as far as they can push gold down. So let's say worst case, they push gold down 12. So silver maybe goes down 15. The miners go down 20, 25%, which depending on the quality of the miner. And that seems like it's brutal, but trust me, a 20% drawdown, we see these all the time in the miners. But the key here is how long it lasts. Can they push it down 20% and keep it there? I don't think so. I think it'll be very short-lived. I think they push gold down 12%, and then gold within 4 to 6 weeks has bounced. And so we can live through that, but it's going to happen, absolutely going to happen. But I'm not worried about it at all. As a matter of fact, I have a buy the dip list, and it's 5 or 6 stocks. And these are stocks that I don't think I have a high enough allocation in. I want more allocation. And I'm going to buy the dip on those. And it's already funded. I'm ready to do it. I'm ready to, pull the trigger. But I'm just waiting, right? It's going to happen. But I am fully invested. All I'm doing is adding shares to stocks I already own. I don't have any stocks I don't own. If I find a stock that I like that's cheap, I'm going to buy it. I'm not going to wait for that.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. I mean, you've been doing this a long time, Don, and I think a lot of listeners can gain from both of our decisiveness, right? Like, we're not always right, but we take a meeting with someone like Jose who's about to join us, and we act on it. We don't sit there and think about it for a month. You can't think about things in a rabid silver and gold environment. You have to really pay attention quickly and make a decision. That's how you make money in this sector.
So Jose's got, a 10 plus bagger stock. So, I mean, if you like the story, there's no reason to wait.
Well, with that, let's bring him on, because we have he's got a meeting coming up, and we're getting really late here after about a 12-hour day as we're recording this. So let's bring on Jose Garcia, who is the Silver X CEO. The ticker in the U.S. is AGXPF, and in Canada, AGX. Hey, how you doing, Jose?
Hi, Jan. How you doing? Thank you for having me today. Hi, Don. How you doing?
Hey, Jose. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, Jose, thanks a lot for taking the time to join us. Would you be kind enough to give us like a 7 to 10 minute overview of Silver X?
Absolutely. Listen, it's the second time I'm with you. I think it was about a year ago that I presented the company. And we are all very happy, obviously, enjoying silver prices, enjoying a better equity market, and getting momentum. As a small producer with growing results, I think we're having finally our opportunity. Over the last 4 years that we've been public, I think SilverX has been a pretty good story. The stock didn't perform the way we wanted for a number of reasons. I will come back to that in a minute. But I think the biggest value that SilverX brings to investors is that we've been growing a very large silver resource in what we call a district scale project in central Peru. We own a district that, the silver equivalent changes every day, but let's say we are a company with 150 to 200 million ounces of silver equivalent. And at the time, At this time, actually, we are producing about 1.25 million ounces of silver. What I'm trying to say with that is that the real value of the company is in the upcoming growth that we are, projecting going forward. I think we've been really good at building resources, and we continue to do that. We just did a capital raise about a week ago. Actually, we raised the money at Beaver Creek 2 weeks ago, and we announced that last Monday, and we raised $21.5 million Canadian. I think that's really good money for us. We're going to use it very wisely, mainly on growing our resource and also on boosting our productivity. As I said, over the last few years, SilverX was building production. SilverX was a company that it's a very entrepreneurial story. We built the company with basically our own revenues and little capital investments, if you like. And we were holding there for a number of years, these 4 years, as I said, but now we're having the time, we're having the momentum. Over the next 12 months, what you are going to see with SilverX, I believe, is not only growing production or improving performance, put it that way. Investors should be happier in the upcoming quarters that we start making some steady cash flow. As silver prices help, our productivity increases, but more importantly, as I said, we'll continue our growth story. Just a few weeks ago, I think it was the first week of September, we published a new PEA on which we project this growth from the existing 1.25 million ounces a year to basically 6 plus over 14 years. And that's the great value of the company. We are in a terrific district. We own more than 200 veins. We own that those veins are more than 500 kilometers outcrop. So it's really something significant. Okay. And as I always say, I feel we're kind of scratching the surface here. It's one of those districts that is going to continue to give ore for decades, even centuries. SilverX intends to become a mid-tier producer. What's a mid-tier? Well, in my own understanding, I would say something about those 5 or 6 million ounces of silver equivalent a year. And I think we are defining that path. For the next 12 months, we are going to, as I said, continue growing our productivity or growing our production, increase our resource. And if I look at 3 years' time, which is what we published in our PA, we have a beautiful challenge to build the full-scale district, going from the current 600 tons a day to 3,000 tons a day, 1.25 million ounces to 6 plus million ounces of silver equivalent. At that point in time, SilverX actually has a really attractive cash flow. I think that's the real value of the company.
Okay, great. Thanks for the overview, Jose. I mean, one of the things that we were just talking about before we brought you on was the leverage that your company has to the underlying price of silver. So could you maybe give us a ballpark for like every ounce, because you are producing, for every dollar that silver goes up, how meaningful is that to your bottom line?
Well, it's pretty meaningful. I'm going to go back to the existing operations and what we project in the future. We have 3 different mining areas, as we call, and we're currently operating the Tangana Mine, which is pretty good grades. We are not a pure silver producer. We produce silver, gold, lead, and zinc. And let's say that silver is at current prices about 45-50% of our revenue. So every dollar that goes up in silver price actually has an impact of about, let's say, 50% or 50 cents of that dollar in terms of our revenue. If I'm trying to refer to sort of unit metal prices, if you like, the ore value. But reality, not only that helps a lot, but now with this money, now with this opportunity, we are looking at some higher grade targets. And that's actually going to be one of the primary focus of the company going forward. Within our district, which I said, we got a number of targets, almost 200. We have defined 2 or 3 targets we're going to be aggressively tackling down, and hopefully in the next couple of years be mining much higher grade. Typical grade we mine is about 4 ounces of silver with about a gram of gold, a bit less than a gram of gold, and 2.5% lead and 2.5% zinc. That's approximate the head grade, but would be very happy to look at some asset that could bring head grades of 7 to 10 ounces of silver. Okay. At that point in time, the economics of the company changed dramatically. So in the short term, we intend to do that.
Okay. So one of the things that Don and I are recognizing as we do these interviews, and it's been pretty recent, like the last 2 or 3 months, is that companies like yours that haven't traditionally gone out and raised, 10 or 20 million at a at a chunk, if you will, have been doing that. And you just got done saying that you raised a little over 20 million, right? So with that 20 million, that kind of is a game changer for a company like yours, because it wasn't that you didn't want to, grow the resource. You just wanted to do it responsibly because you and your insiders own so many shares, right? Like, why would you dilute yourself into the ground?
Yeah, that's true. Over the last 4 years, we did a number of private placements. I think it was 4, and all of them were rather small. It was difficult markets. The company was not in a great financial position. Investors, I think, punished SilverX because they were afraid they were going to get diluted further. I think that came to an inflection point. I think we passed that tipping point a few months ago, and I hope we can actually satisfy those expectations. Okay, now it's time to give that confidence back to our investors, or to get that confidence back from our investors. I think that SilverX, the moment we have a couple of quarters in the blue, the moment we continue to increase our resource, I wouldn't be surprised if we see our share price, just much higher. Over the last couple of months, we went from about 25 cents to basically up to 60 cents. I think we're 53, 54 cents today. I'd be very happy to see these, I don't want to say a number, but a lot higher before year ends, right?
Yeah, no, I understand that. So, what is the all-in sustaining cost roughly right now, and what do you see for the AISC going forward? The things that you're doing in Peru, do you think that AISC will drop?
Indeed, over the last 2 years, we've been consistently around $25, $27 per ounce of silver, up to 30 actually last quarter. Keep in mind that when the silver price goes up, the equivalent actually comes down a little bit. So we are now at $30 all-in sustained cost. I want to keep it there as silver goes up. If we actually made our budget, our forecast for 2026, I want to have all-in sustained cost substantially below 25. I think that would be a terrific success. As a small producer, we never provided guidance to the market because we don't have, like a big resource statement. We have a very big resource. So we took that strategy of producing with a small reserve, but a big resource. I think if we do a good job in the upcoming months, it's going to be, again, very, very well below $25 per ounce of silver. And I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a game changer because when you're at $30 silver, which had been resistance for 11 years, right? And you're producing, say, even at 25 or 27, that's challenging, right? Let's be honest. When you're at 45 silver, you have a lot more, just leverage, headroom, right? Like you don't have to worry about things as much because the silver price has been sustained. And I'll point out that once silver crossed $40, Don and I have talked about this, it hasn't closed below 40, which is unbelievable. Like we haven't seen a retracement down since it broke above 40. So I think things are headed in the right direction from a macro perspective, and it sounds like you're moving forward on a good plan. So I'll turn it over to Don at this point.
Hey, Jose, we go back a ways. So it was good talking to you. So for me, the one thing I always tell silver companies that come on here is, I don't really care about the near term at all. I invest for $100 silver. So when I look at your company, all I want you to do is survive and not dilute me into the ground. That's it. But for me, you mentioned, you're going to focus on finding some high grade and doing 40,000 meters over the next 18 months of drilling. But for me, I believe that for every 1 million ounces of production of silver, a company is going to be worth $500 million. And so you're going to mine 6 million. That's $3 billion. That's what your company's worth at $100 silver. Now, let me explain why. So if you have $50 break even, you said that you have like 30 ASIC now, so that's well below 50, right? If you can stay under $40 ASIC in the next 2 years, I don't think that's going to be hard for you to do, right? That's going to give you $50 in free cash flow per million ounces. So that's 50 million in free cash flow per million. If you get a 10 multiple, that's 500 million in valuation. So you get 6, you get 3 billion. And when silver goes to $100, and I've been saying this for years and everybody's laughing at me, but now we're almost to 50. Well, guess what? 50 and 100% is 100. It's not that far. We're not that far away. Plus, if you look at gold and you use the GSR, if we go to $5,000 gold, which I think is fairly easy, you put a 50 GSR, which I think is very conservative, you get $100 silver. So $100 silver is not crazy talk. It's actually, you should actually expect it. I know you're a mining company, you can't think this way. You can't expect $100 silver, Don. I'm telling you, you can expect it. You can actually, manage for it. It's like, okay, we're going to have a $3 billion company here. That's our target. Not 1 billion, not 2 billion, 3 billion. So, Tangana, right? So the key here is to get from A to B, right? A is your 1 million, B is 6 million. That's how you got to get from A to B, right? You don't have to do it all at once. Why don't you told me at Beaver Creek that you could basically double the size of Tangana for $15 million because your CapEx was only 82 million. So if it's only 15 million to double it, get to 2 million ounces. You get to 2 million ounces. Guess what? Silver goes to $100. You got a lot of free cash flow. Then the final, then Plata, your second mine, is easy peasy to build, right? You got all this free cash flow. The payback's like 1 year. It's easy to finance the whole thing. So, why don't you double the size of Tangana? Isn't that? That seems like it's low hanging fruit.
Oh, totally. You read my mind. We spoke a few weeks ago, and yes, of course, there is something good about SilverX. We've been always operating on a small budget. We've been always very, very cheap, and I think we're going to do it very smart. Going to increase the size of the existing mill for little cash or little capex. Going to increase the size of Tangana very rapidly in an organic way, and as you said, we can double production. If we're speaking at your time, I'll probably be showing you very good numbers. And in 3 years' time, when we build a second mill and a second mine that we call it Plata, as you say, because Plata in Spanish is silver. And we call it Plata because it's really high grade. So we're in love with that. I believe it's going to become one of the best silver mines in Peru, but it's going to take some time. But as you said, the level of capex that we have to deploy to build this district is really competitive. You look at our PEA. We said it's a 14 years mine life, an average production of 6+ million ounces of silver, pre-production capex, $82 million. I think that's one of the most competitive projects you can find in the sector. And I think that's the beauty, that's the niche market where SilverX wants to operate. I like the double-digit capex, 3-digit NPV. That's sort of my rule of thumb, right?
Well, your capex is actually for 2 mines, so you can actually break it in 2. It's not really 82, right? If you do Tangana first, then the capex for Plata is much lower. Right?
Totally.
Yeah. So I actually don't like looking at it from an 82 because 82 is misleading because it's really we're gonna do it in phases. Phase 1 is probably going to be less than 20, right?
Indeed.
And then phase 2, 50 to 70. So I prefer to break it into 2 phases instead of thinking, okay, we need 82. You don't need 82. You can do Tangana first, and you don't have to rate. You could probably. It's not going to be very much. If your cash flow is up, you might be able to borrow the whole thing, right? You might be able to borrow $20 million, and you won't even have to dilute it, and then you organically can basically pay for Plata. And then the reason why I like your company, you mentioned this earlier, you already have 150 to 200 million, depending on the cutoff grade, right? 150 to 200 million of silver equivalent. As the silver prices go higher, you do have 200 million, right? Because then the cutoff goes up. So in actuality, you do have 200 because silver prices are going a lot higher. Also, you have a big property with a lot of targets. You mentioned that. You got targets all over the place. So this thing is actually, you got a market cap 125 million. You probably are sitting on 250, 300 million ounces of silver equivalent. That's a lot. And you have a path to 6 million ounces, but that's not the end. Your company could actually expand upon that, you could actually get to 8, 9, 10, which is pretty stunning. Now, I said I value at 3 billion as is, right? So you could actually be worth more than that. Right, you could be worth more than that. It's basically, one of the things that we've noticed, the people that are kind of in the gold silver miners, we've noticed that everything is kind of getting wonky right now. It's like it's getting really crazy because this bull market is actually starting now with gold prices, silver prices high. So the valuations are just going to go absolutely bonkers. Companies are going to have clean balance sheets within 2 years. I mean, when I say clean balance sheets, I mean no debt and $100 to $500 million in cash on their balance sheet. It'll be like that for the whole industry. So you can imagine the multiples. The multiples are going to go crazy. Everybody's going to be in it. And, the price targets that I've been giving for companies, everybody's like, no way, that's impossible. That can't happen. Well, all you have to do is the math. I mean, I'm using $50 break-even points, right? Which is kind of, how come you can't hit that? You're like, Don, I can hit that, right? In the back of your mind, you're going, 50? I can hit that. That's easy peasy, right? And I think it is. It will be easy peasy for you. So think about it. 6 million ounces at $50 margins. You really don't think that your cash flow multiple will be at least 10? Of course it will be.
I agree on that.
Okay, then. So when are we going to see Tangana doubled in size? I want to see that.
Totally. I think you are going to see that in 2026. We are now under a beautiful pressure of having to deploy this money. We have defined a number of strategic initiatives which go around the lines of the main infrastructure for the mine, need to put new adits, new crosscuts, new ventilation and chimneys and ore passes. So all the productivity stuff that you have to do in a mine. And I think we can do it on a very fast track. So in 2026, you are going to see Tangana producing around 1,500 tons a day.
Nice.
We're going to do it in just a span of 6 to 9 months.
Right. So silver gets to $60 next year, which is my expectation. You should have, $20 margins. So that's 40 million in free cash flow. So you're currently valued about 125. So you could be valued 300 by the end of next year, 300, 400 million. Which would, and then from there, remember I'm saying you're going to go to 3 billion. So the end of next year, you should be, I think, 300, 400 million, but just getting started, right? So you triple in value from here, and then you basically throw out maybe you do an updated PEA, do a PFS for Plata, and then build Plata in 27, and then boom, you're at 6 million ounces.
That's right.
So kind of triple next year and then go up 5x the year after that. That's kind of how I see it. But again, I could care less about the near term. I can wait until 28. I can wait for you to get to 6, 7, 8 million in production. So your insiders, how many insiders do you have? I mean, can somebody come and steal your company right now?
Yeah, we have 2 insiders, put it away. We have our largest investor is a British fund. It's called Baker Steel Resources Trust. They own about 10% of the company, a bit less than, probably about 9% of the company. I am the second largest shareholder with about 6.5% of the company, something like that. Okay. Right. So yeah, we work for our equity. We're still relatively large.
Right. So what about investors that you personally know that are kind of long-term investors who, wouldn't take a buyout, who would basically say no? Do you have a bunch of those?
Yes, we were very happy on this particular last placement that we brought very good investors. We brought AGXPF. We brought Orca Capital. We brought Palisades, which is one of the most significant investors. So we're really happy. That's very faithful capital. I think they are going to stay for those 3-4 years that you mentioned, and they're having the same idea you've got. They want to see this going to 2030, 2029.
Right. So I believe that once we get above $50 silver, that people are going to start to believe, like me, that silver prices are going higher. And that's when M&A is going to kick into gear. It's like nobody, there hasn't been a single development project acquired. The only projects that have been acquired have been producers. We had Silvercrest, we had Gatos, and then we had one. That's all we've had. We've had basic mag. We had mag. So we've had these very high quality producers taken out, but development stories, none, zero. It's like nobody. Everybody wants these accretive deals. Nobody believes in higher silver prices. But once we get above 50, the vultures, the sharks are going to show up. They're going to go, okay, where can I make money? Well, guess what? You are a sitting duck, because if I'm a silver producer and I want to grow production, I want to go after companies that have a lot of silver in the ground that are very cheap, and that's you. So
something happened. I wanted to mention to you something happened in our district just 6 months ago, a bit less than that. There was a private company next door with a very similar asset. We basically mine the same vein system. It's a massive vein field, same ores, same structures, same everything, same resource. They were producing 3 times more because they were heavily invested over the last few years. Endeavour Silver came and paid about 250 million Canadian. That's about 6 months ago. Had they done it today, I think they would have paid at least 600-700, honestly. But that was great for us because that was a huge endorsement to the value of the district. If you look at this Huancavelica, just in Huancavelica, you've got Endeavour Silver now at our doorstep. Is Silver X. There is some private mines. There is Silver Mountain. Huancavelica, just in a span of 50 kilometers, is going to produce 20 or 30 million ounces of silver a year.
Right, but here's the problem. You're valued at less than $1 an ounce, and you're a producer.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy. You're almost trading at 50 cents an ounce, a little bit more. You're trading at an exploration company level. So a Chinese company, this is my worst fear, is that a Chinese company comes in and offers you 200% premium. 200%. They'll pay $3. They're not even going to pay $3. They pay $2.50 an ounce in the ground. But they're actually paying less than that because you probably have 300 million on your property. So they're probably paying 50 cents. And they go in there and go, okay, we're going to offer your shareholders a 200% premium for an all cash deal. They're going to steal your shares, steal them. So in other words, you got 6% in this company and it's worth $3 billion. You haven't gotten paid yet. And they're going to literally rug pull you and say, "Oh, we're going to offer your shareholders a 200% premium for all cash." How are you going to sleep good that night?
No, I won't.
Exactly, me neither. So this has happened to me twice before. I know it's going to happen again. But the Chinese like to do all cash deals. They like to basically go private. And that's my worry, because they could come in tomorrow and basically say, we want to offer you a 200% all cash. And there's nothing you can do. You got to go to your shareholders, right? And you have no choice. And boom, people are like, I'm going to get 200%. Here's my shares. Take them, right? So you need to get your valuations up quickly. That's why I want you to double that Tangana ASAP. Get your valuation up to 300 million in a hurry before somebody steals you, because you should be valued at least $3 an ounce in the ground, right? That would be 600 million. You should be valued at least $3. So, 500 million, you're valued at 125. So that's kind of the big risk here. It's an opportunity cost. So if somebody owns your shares, we could get rug pulled at any moment. You might be one of the cheapest producers right now as far as gold and silver in the ground goes. As far as producers go, you're probably the cheapest one. I have to look, but you're valued, 60, 70 cents an ounce in the ground, which is unbelievably ridiculous.
Yeah.
But there's good and bad with that. With a producer, you need a strategic investor. I mean, you should be protecting yourself. Like I said, you're going to sleep good if you get a phone call from the Chinese. No, you're not. So you need to get a strategic in there, somebody that'll pay for this CapEx. Somebody will pay for the whole CapEx themselves, and then you need to get up to 25%, because you probably have 20 now. People that don't really want to give up their shares. That's not enough. You need another 10 in a hurry. before this thing gets stolen from you. Because if it's not a Chinese company, it'll be another company that comes in. Now, a Chinese company would have to probably offer 200% all cash deal, maybe 150, maybe 150%. They might start at 150, get turned down, and go 200. But the company that's even more dangerous to you is a quality company. A quality company could go in. Endeavor, for instance, they own Copal near you. Endeavor could make a 30% premium offer, and it would probably go through, because people are like, okay, I'll take those Endeavor shares, because they're going to be very highly accretive to Endeavor. Believe it or not, Endeavor prints is a 15-20 bagger right now. So people are going to love to have those Endeavor shares, and Copal is right next door to you. So Endeavor is probably your biggest risk. Even, you know what I mean?
Totally. And I take that comment. And I think we spoke about it a few weeks ago. And yes, we've been having conversations with larger companies. I think I like the idea of bringing that strategic investor, a good partner, a quality company that actually help not only in terms of holding the shares, but actually in looking at this project, because this project is really, really something a lot bigger than what we have today. It's a lot bigger.
Yeah, I mean, it's got 20 bagger all over it at higher silver prices. So yeah, I mean, a strategic investor should be uber excited about coming in and basically, this upside here. So yeah, so all you need to do is just, find that person, and I'll be really excited. I've been a shareholder, I don't know, since I met you like 3 years ago.
Yep.
So yeah, that's my worry. My worry is that you get acquired before you get a chance to get to 6 million ounces. I think that's all the questions I have. I'm looking at my list here. I don't think I'm missing anything else. I mean, Tangana, Plata growth, PEA, permitting isn't an issue. The only last question I'll ask you is your local community. And you're kind of in a district, right? So the local community should be very supportive. You shouldn't have any issues locally, right?
I think that's one of the items on which we are, extremely proud. We built the company, as I said in the beginning, in a very entrepreneurial way. So we had to work with a very low profile since day one, hand in hand with the community. We have 65% of our workforce come from the very local communities. We provide all kind of business opportunities, the ore transportation, civil works, hospitality. We have 2 communities on our land. With one of them, we signed a 15 years deal and 12 years deal with the other community. So basically covering our life of mine. I think there is very few companies actually in Peru that have been able to do that over the last few years. And we're extremely proud of that.
Nice. Outstanding. I've been saying that, that there's only a few good spec bets for big alpha, and it was Guanajuato, yourself, and Santa Cruz. And Guanajuato, they did their 3rd financing in a year. Very frustrating for investors. It's like, so don't be like them. Don't listen to the ground. So, but you definitely are a very good spec bet. It's like, but you don't get 10, 15, 20 baggers for free. They don't come free. There's always some risk involved. But for me, you have the thing that's great about your company is you have the silver. It's sitting there. It's in the ground. All you have to do is take it out. As far as silver prices, it's really a bet on silver prices. Silver prices go up. I have no problem with Peru. I'm fine with mining in Peru. So I think I'd rather mine in Peru than in Mexico. So I'm absolutely fine with Peru. So yeah, I mean, you got the PEA to get to 6 million. You got Tangana. You got to build Plata. It seems like a pretty easy. I mean, the capex is 82 million, so that's got to be a quick build, right? It's got to be a quick build. That's not enough money for a long build. So it's a quick build. Permitting's quick. It's like, it's a good story. It's a good spec bet. I'll take it. Thanks for being on, Jose.
Thank you, Don.
Stay in touch.
Okay.
Jose, Don just did your job for you. Hey, Jose.
I own the stock, man. I got to sell it.
That's funny. Hey, Jose, you may want to look at Abra Silver. We had John Midiotis on few months ago, and they had brought on two strategics, both at small percentages. I think they were both under 5%, but it was a large utility company in Argentina and also Kinross they brought on. And he, like you, owns a lot of the stock, right, himself, and he worked hard to build it, and he didn't want to get taken over at low prices. And I think Don and I interviewed him at $2, and it's trading at $5.50 today. Like, it's unbelievable. They've had a great year. So, I mean, what Don is saying is true. It's like there are going to be sharks at 50 plus silver, and we're really close, right? Like, so.
Totally.
Maybe Eric will just raise his percentage, right? Like, what did he come into? What is he in terms of percentage overall in the company now?
Yeah, he's not big. I think he came for, I was looking at the numbers, he came for probably $4 million or $3 million, which is not really big. Could be just a 3% or 2% or something like that. But he could increase. I've been talking to companies actually at Beaver Creek. Some of them were private, large private companies. So I thought that'd be ideal. But also, some of the largest North American silver producers that have been interested in looking at the district because they like they've been following us over the last few years. So they like it. So we're having conversations there.
That's good. Okay. Well, Jose, as always, thanks a lot for the information and for coming on today. We appreciate it. And
thank you, John.
We'll see.
Thank you for the flexibility again. I know you are busy.
Sure. No problem. We'll probably get an update from you in Q1. And in the meanwhile, have a great fall. And if you don't mind, we're just going to talk amongst ourselves for a few minutes and try to summarize this for investors.
Totally. Okay. Thank you, guys. Speak soon.
All right,
Great seeing you.
Thanks, Jose.
Bye-bye.
You too.
So, Don, you and I have, I've known Jose for about 3-4 years. You about the same. So we've seen this, story develop. And I remember 2 Beaver Creeks ago having a meeting with 5 of my clients with Jose, and he was just real honest with us. Which again, it goes back to like the first screen that I use for everything that I buy. Is he was kind of like head down, head in hand, whatever that saying is, hat in hand, like just telling us like it was like, hey, our costs are high, silver's low. We're, going to have to cut some employees and make it happen. Right. And they did that, painful, but now look at where we are. Like, that's what Great Panther and so many other companies didn't do. They didn't figure it out. Like, that's why they're not being able to participate now, is that they didn't do the difficult things then.
Yeah, the only thing I didn't really like was the fact that he's going to drill 40,000 meters in the next 18 months. I don't see really the necessity of that. They're basically taking money from shareholders, which they raised money, just raised money, and they're doing it to find some high grade, because if they find high grade, it de-risks the company. They find, because it makes their break-even point go down. So they're trying to lower the break-even point. So they're being, I can be wrong, but it seems like they're being conservative in that regard. Where I would basically prefer that they're more aggressive on the expectation that the margins are going to be there, that silver prices are going to go higher. So they have like a $30 ASIC right now. So that's about a 37 break even. And so they're not confident that silver is going to go higher. So they're like, if silver stays at $40, we only make $3 an ounce. That's not enough. We need more. So we're going to go after the high grade. So they're going to drill looking for a higher grade. But if silver goes north of 50, they don't need to drill. And they can drill later. They can wait, get the free cash flow, and then drill from that. So instead of wasting money drilling now, they should be drilling later with the free cash flow they're going to generate. So I would rather them, focus all of their money on expansion. They already have the resources, but the grade isn't great. They want so they're going to drill 40,000 meters over 18 months. Now, it'll probably all work out. They'll probably end up increasing the resource to, 250 million ounces of silver equivalent, 220, 230. They're probably going to increase the resources, which will be good. But like I said, I would prefer they drill later, not now. But on the whole, they are one of the few companies that have that kind of leverage. I mean, literally, like I said, 125 million today to 3 billion at $100 silver, somewhere 2 to 3 billion. That's kind of what the upside potential they have. So it's an interesting spec bet.
Yeah, and for people that are skeptical listening to those kind of numbers, I would just direct you to a couple of the interviews. Well, we haven't done one with Avino Silver yet, but you and I have liked David's story for a couple of years now. And last year we were pounding the table on that thing at 50 cents US, especially you. And now that stock's well over $5. So that's a 10 bagger. Never say that, but I'm just saying it is the truth. In a short period of time, right? And Acro Silver, the one I had just given everyone, gosh, I met John 80, 90 cents US, trading at 550 now. That was only a couple of years ago. This wasn't 10 years ago. I mean, this is life-changing growth if you're in these stocks. And the thing about SilverX that people need to understand is go take a look not only at a long data chart, look at a short data chart, like a 1-year chart of this thing. This stock was trading at 10 cents US all day. It's trading at 35 cents now. It's not like it's gone up exponentially yet. It was trading down here, as Jose pointed out, because the market was gaming him for like, when are you going to do a finance? And as well as I do, Don, with some of these smaller stocks, all you need is one big iceberg seller out there, and it just stays there. Like Lahontan is a great example, right? We've had Kimberly Ann on the show, and she told us flat out, like, we've got this seller out there. We've got to get through the seller. Once we get through the seller, it's going to move. That was at 8 cents US when we interviewed her. And the stocks are on 10.5 cents now. We got through that iceberg. It happens, right? Like, it just takes some time. And I don't think investors understand that it's difficult for some of these stocks to advance sometimes.
Yeah, I don't understand. Lahontan really hasn't performed like I thought it would, especially this month. I mean, it basically been stuck at 10 cents US. I thought, 28, 29 million fully diluted market cap for a project that's going to be construction ready at 70,000 ounces a year. It hasn't done nothing. But if you look at P2 Gold, which is kind of a very similar story, it's kind of has the same valuation. It's like, for some reason, people don't like these open pit projects in Nevada. They're just giving them no value. I think at a certain point they'll rip higher, but right now they're just not getting anywhere. And then SilverX has had a really hard go of it, making money. So they've had to do like 3 share dilutions, and they just haven't made any money. And so people aren't really excited about the stock. That's why it's valued at 125 million. But if they can get some momentum going, kind of like what Avino did, they can get some momentum going, they could really rip higher. They actually have, more gold, more upside than Guanajuato, and people really like Guanajuato. So Guanajuato is like 3.6, 3.8 million a year. And unless they do an acquisition, they're really not going to get beyond 4. And SilverX is going to 6 within 3 years. And so, it's actually more free cash flow for SilverX than Guanajuato. But because SilverX has had so many problems, but Guanajuato's diluted us just as much, as even more than SilverX. Both of those small producers have diluted us. This is why you have to be very careful with small producers. I tend to avoid gold small producers, but I take a risk with the silver small producers because they have huge leverage. Because silver could go higher than 100. I'm using 100, but it could go higher. You start valuing these companies at 125 silver, and they really explode in value.
Yep. Yeah. Look, I think we're going to get to a point at $50 silver where people are going to be doing what I saw in 2016 and in 2020, when they're starting to Google search, silver company names. And both the ones you just talked about, Guanajuato Silver as well as SilverX, have silver in the name, right? I know that sounds nuts, but I've seen it happen where you just start to see people piling into stuff, in these chat rooms, and you're like, oh man, I don't even think these people understand what they're buying. But both of those companies that you're talking about, are out of the woods now to me. Like we've both followed them enough to know kind of where the bodies are buried in the share structure and in the story. But now you've got like upside because silver is doing much, much better. When you're at 25 silver, as we were last year, this isn't a long time ago, and you're producing at 25 to 30 silver, as these companies are, you are skating on some thin ice, because if silver goes to 20, you're producing at a loss. Look at First Majestic. Gosh, I think like eight quarters ago, they lost $80 million. Like this is a small company.
Yeah, I wouldn't say Guanajuato and SilverX are out of the woods yet, but if you get firmly above 50, if 50 becomes the new floor in the next 3, 4, 6 months, 50 becomes the new floor, then yes, they're in really good shape, because from that floor, silver will keep trending, and the higher, and as silver trends higher off of that floor, it creates huge leverage for these companies. Absolutely huge.
I do agree with you. I mean, I'm just saying that I think that investors in this sector are overly negative in general because they've been beaten up over the last 14 years, right? And so what I mean by that is, what if G Silver Guanajuato goes out there and acquires someone like you just suggested, right? We can't foresee that. We haven't talked to James in a while. I don't know if that's going to even a possibility. But that would be a game changer if it was a good acquisition at a reasonable price. And by the way, the guy has a history of buying stuff cheaply. Like he really has. I mean, if you look at the company which interviewed, SilverX, if they go out there and like you said, you're not really sure why they're doing so much drilling, but at 50 plus silver, if you're doing that drilling, the news is going to be people will be paying attention to the news a lot more than they are at 45 silver, right? Like it's just a fact. People want to see an all-time high, and then as you know, they start piling in.
Right. Okay, we'll leave it there.
Sounds great, Don. Well, thanks a lot for coming on, and please check out Don's website, goldstockdata.com. Great site for gold and silver equity research. And please check out mine, fenneckconsulting.com. We offer a number of different services. Phone calls, real-time updates through emails. I transcribe all of these things that Don and I do for you. So I tell you at this time, we're talking about Guanajuato. At this time, we're talking about La Haunted. So you have an idea of where to listen in if you own that stock and get our opinion on some things. So thanks again, everyone. Hope you have a good day.